Presenting you the Poco F4. Is this 2022's flagship killer, or simply the must-have update that had to be pushed in order to keep the sales going? Which are the top 5 strengths and weaknesses that you should consider before buying? Let's inspect. So, Poco is no longer this unknown brand which sounds like a Mexican or Spanish dish. Quite the opposite, it becomes trendier in time, and since it offers unmatched balance between hardware offered at a price, it currently is one of the hottest devices that you can buy from the Mi family. So this year I've already tested the M4 Pro and the Poco F4 GT, the gaming-oriented device, and some things didn't click quite well because of certain decisions that Poco have made, obviously influenced by the struggling 2022 technology and supply of different spare parts. So it's interesting to see what happens with their kind of flagship this year. So, one phone, 5 top strengths and 5 top weaknesses. In my opinion, the major strength, and you can guess based on the really snappy experience when scrolling, going through different apps and doing various tasks on this smartphone, that's the performance driven by the system on a chip. In the SoC, this represents the combination between the CPU, GPU, NPU, the whole stack, which is the heart of the smartphone. It's delivered by the American company Qualcomm, called Snapdragon 870. And it's not the latest and greatest, though. However, it belongs to the premium line. It's just that flagships from 2 years ago have been powered by the 870, and after that, Qualcomm have released the famous Snapdragon 888, and now we have Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. It happens to be the last Snapdragon in mass production done by TSMC yet, which are believed to offer a manufacturing process that guarantees better battery endurance, and both the 888 and the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 have been suffering from certain overheating issues. Although not the latest and greatest, Snapdragon 870 has remarkable performance, enough variations for RAM and storage, very balanced power consumption, and most importantly, Xiaomi have used it in multiple devices and know how to extract the best out of it. Top feature number 2, and you guess it right, that's the camera setup, and we can read it says 64 megapixel OIS, optical image stabilization. And just like with the system on a chip, it doesn't offer the latest and greatest, but this image sensor combined with the optical image stabilization is going to provide excellent performance in almost any kind of scene and condition. Perfectly well exposed daytime photos, contrast, sharpness, color saturation, almost ideal. You're gonna hardly find reasons to criticize them. At night, the results are also very good. The night mode in the camera app has been going stronger through the years. So now just look at the comparison between Poco F4 and the close to 3 times more expensive Xiaomi 12 Pro. Video is also a strong side. 4K is up to 60 frames per second. There's optical image stabilization, which will improve your photography by eliminating blurred shots due to shaky hands, and will make videos to look a lot smoother. Of course, there's an ultra-wide camera setup as well, same as the predecessor, the Poco F3. Let's say it's fine in most cases, unless you have high expectations for a low-light scenario. It has a lot to catch up with compared to some 2022 flagships. Top feature number 3. And no, this time it's not obvious, it's integrated inside, that's the battery, and namely the fast charging ability of this battery. It can juice up to 92% of the capacity within just 30 minutes, 67-watt charging, and you do have a charger included inside the box. True, this is by no means faster than the similarly priced OnePlus Nord 2T, but easily beats each and every Samsung-made smartphone in 2022, challenges some other devices by Sony, Realme and Redmi. The battery has capacity of 4,500 mAh. I have to admit that this Poco has been a lot more generous in terms of battery endurance as opposed to the Xiaomi 12 Pro, which is my usual daily driver. It is not the best phone about battery life, but clearly among those that show very good results about battery endurance, not only because of the balanced processor, but also because of the well-tuned AMOLED display. Top feature number 4 is yet one more thing which is not apparent, and actually this is a feature we almost never talk about when choosing a new smartphone, and it's kind of never listed as part of the main specs, but it has an extremely important role, A, for consistent performance, and B, for guaranteeing slightly better battery life or over time to make sure that your battery is going to have better health. That's the cooling system, obviously something we can only see if we fully disassemble the phone. Poco go for liquid cool technology 2.0 with much greater size for the vapor chamber, similar to what gaming phones are opting for. This is why the system will almost never overheat or go into throttling conditions, even if it is a hot day and you use the phone with a thick case. It is amazing how such a small component can change so much about perception of something. Last but not least, that's the price, and compared to Poco F3, it is the same launch price. And here we do have a handful of really good improvements. First, the camera has been bumped to 64 megapixels with optical image stabilization. The much faster charging, it's twice better than what it used to be with the predecessor. Dolby Atmos certification, Dolby Vision certification, much better sunlight mode for the display, the better cooling inside, and the multiple improvements on the software level. And Poco keep the very same price. That's a great thing. It's also true that if you already own the F3, this wouldn't feel like much of an upgrade, but if you're looking for the best value smartphone of the year, or probably something that we can call a flagship killer, I'll certainly think of the Poco F4. This has been the bright side of the Poco F4, and since I believe in the good balance, it's fair to think about the top 5 flaws or disadvantages. And I'm gonna start with the most trivial one, but I noticed that this is the most common criticism that this phone gets online, and that would be, well, you see the ports on the top here and the ports at the bottom. There is no 3.5mm audio jack. Poco make it up to you by including this USB Type-C to 3.5mm jack connector. I haven't used a wired headset for listening to music for at least 2 years now, so chances are that you may not be bothered by the absence of such a port. You know that if a smartphone doesn't have a headphone jack, most likely it wouldn't support external storage, and that's exactly the case with the Poco F4. I just want to mention that the Poco F3 also does not have any expandability in terms of storage, so the best thing you can do is to buy the 256 gig edition if you plan to use some more space, or probably to think about some more cloud services, because I guess combined with whatever you have in terms of internal storage and all the cloud services we have access to these days, you're gonna be pretty comfortable with the amount of space that you can count on. And by the way, something really annoying given this USB port at the bottom, yes, it's a Type-C, but unfortunately Poco still keep it at version 2.0. Third major disadvantage. This, you know, the turbocharging, but this is the only way this smartphone can be charged. So obviously there is no wireless charging, and that's one of the major differences between this flagship killer wannabe and the true premium flagships of 2022. It can be very convenient just ditching the phone before going to bed and getting up without being worried that you need to once again plug that connector. True, 67-watt charging is super fast and efficient, but yeah, wireless charging would have been a nice option. The fourth major flaw, and you might be a little surprised here because it's the overall camera setup. Yes, I pointed to the 64 megapixel main sensor as one of the big advantages, but if we think about the combination of this 64 megapixel sensor with the optical image stabilization, video recordings are not that good. And I can overall find some criticism about each and every piece of the camera, but given the price tag, some of them are well understandable. I still have high hopes for Poco to fix this via updates, but I was hoping to see the very same thing with OnePlus 8 Pro, OnePlus 9 Pro for a very long time, so now I simply gave up on believing in such promises. The macro camera this time has fixed focus distance at 4 centimeters. It actually is a downgrade from the 5 megapixel macro sensor with Poco F3. Now we count only on a 2 megapixel setup. The last main reason to not like this smartphone, and I believe it's going to affect just some of you, especially if you use biometrics in order to unlock, but the fingerprint sensor is inside the power button, and you know that sweat, especially in the summer, can slightly affect the accuracy. And overall, I don't think this is the right spot for using a fingerprint scanner. So these are the top 5 strengths and weaknesses related to the Poco F4, a new brilliant smartphone, and I could call it the flagship killer of 2022 if something qualifies as a flagship killer at all this year, because obviously prices are going up and technology, it's not moving up at the same pace. But I think Poco have designed something really brilliant based on the components they could have used fitting within the price tag of close to $400. So tell me, what do you think? Do you have other top favorite features or top favorite disadvantages? Let me know, comment below. As usual, link to the product with some more information is linked in the video description. And it's been such a pleasure to see you here today, hopefully likewise. And if that's the case, hit the like, subscribe to the channel for more cool tech inspections. And I'm Michael. Besides wishing you a great day, I guess I'm gonna see you very soon in our next video. Bye!